Hello, hello, hello. Okay, I think we got. Wait. Hey, Mister. Hey, Astro. Jack Apollyon. Howdy, howdy. Okay, I think we got everything going. Sorry about that, folks. For some reason, it kicked off my audio sources in OBS, so I was not aware of that. Yeah, that happened. Sorry about that, folks. All good now? Awesome. Okay. Look at that. And here I thought everything was going good while I tried to get some coffee really quick. Thank you for your patience, folks. Sorry about that. I did a thing, y'all. I finally bought a van. Nice. Well, congratulations. You are well forgiven. Thank you. I appreciate that. Welcome, everybody. Sorry about that. Let me start this over. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Monday stream. It is Monday. It is that time. As you guys probably have seen on the Discord, we had quite the incident happen this weekend. We are back. Everything's good. So, we're back to our regular scheduled programming. Today is Valentine's Day, February 14th. Hey, Spread It Forward, how's it going? Howdy, howdy. We do have a few things to go over. I don't know if anybody saw the Super Bowl last night or yesterday. But believe it or not, there is some discourse to be had. Believe it or not. Happy Valentine's Day. Let me just get some of these articles up here. I watched a whole game. Okay, so we have a kind of tradition, or I don't know if you can call it that. Tradition or ritual, whatever. That me and my best friend and his brother always watch or get together at least for the Super Bowl because simply, we're for all intents and purposes, we're all basically like family, and it's also an opportunity to, first of all, hang out. Second of all, we get to eat my best friend's world famous guacamole, so that was nice. That's really where all the hype is. Unfortunately, I myself am not very knowledgeable. I myself am not very knowledgeable about this whole sports ball, but nonetheless, it's a good opportunity to get the family together. And the halftime show. And the halftime show is very interesting. World famous guacamole pogs, super poggers. Super poggers. I'm not even kidding. It is world renowned guacamole. That being said, I came prepared this year. I made my world famous. I made my world famous handmade salsa. I countered these. I countered the world famous guacamole with my world famous salsa. So who's betting their lunch money on war in 3 days? Not sure, but we'll talk about that. I mean, to the extent that I can. To the extent that I can, because quite frankly, I'm pretty ignorant on foreign policy. I don't want it, it's near me. Well, I mean, if it's coming to war, yeah, I would be a NIMBY too if I was talking about war. Is it chunky or kind of runny? His guacamole is kind of chunky. I mean, but my salsa was a little bit. Not too much, but it was. Hey Thundera, how's it going? If there does end up being a war, it's because the United States and NATO. Well, I can't see the logic of American football. I mean, like, it's mostly entertainment, to be quite frank. It's mostly entertainment. There is a method to the madness when it comes to the rules and how strategy is done. For the whole sports ball thing, I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it, and I don't follow it. So, yeah, exactly. The logic is to take the egg to the other side of the field while other big people try to stop you. Yeah, that's it. Chunky is best. Yeah, he's got like a. It's not like runny, so. I watch soccer mostly, so I don't know the rules well. Yeah, I watch a little bit of soccer. I watch sometimes the World Cup. That's where that's at. Putin said he just doesn't want Ukraine in NATO, and the United States is purposely urging Ukraine to join NATO and stoking tensions. Yeah, one could say the other. One could say he's also engaging in some tension stroking there too. Amassing a bunch of troops there seems to be a good way of stroking tensions. It's a "I'm not touching you" game. He's playing a very, very good "I'm not touching you" kind of game. Yeah, not good. Not good. I don't agree. It's like the same reason why we would criticize the United States if they started amassing troops on the southern border or something like that. Oh, we'll get to the State Department too. Don't worry, we'll get to that. I would agree that would be a very big mistake. I'm not sure what his game plan is. I'm not sure what Russia's game plan is. I don't blame, but don't be blaming Russian aggression on Crimean Peninsula on NATO. Well, unfortunately, in this situation, I think that Russian troop buildup does also exacerbate the issue. We wouldn't want countries, we wouldn't want this behavior happening elsewhere, regardless of what you think about NATO. Remember, NATO was supposed to be a buffer against the USSR, which yeah, Russia lost hold on the pro-Russia Russian government in Ukraine. Since then, it started to do everything to stop NATO expansion. Yeah, I mean, you could see it that way too. Unfortunately, that's about the extent of my knowledge here. I do think it's worrying that there are, troop buildup on these borders, on pressure points. I also think it's very worrying that the State Department is not being very clear with what's happening, and seems, whether it's true or not, the State Department or the messaging we're getting is very reminiscent of the whole Iraq, 2000, what was it, 2001, 2002 era. 2001, 2002 era. It gives me that vibe, because at the same time, they're also not providing, whether it's true or not, they're also not providing very good or very clear messaging to the public, and it's giving that perception that we're being primed for something to happen. That is also very worrying. That is also very, very worrying. Because this isn't like we're dealing with some, we're dealing with a nuclear power, and it's not, it would be basically conventional warfare. It's going to cause it would be catastrophe. It would be catastrophe. So can we not? Let's just not do that. The clear aggressor here is Russia. Even NATO is one of the opposition hegemony forces in the region. That's my point. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not good to begin to behave in the manner that Russia is. It's not good to begin to make buildup like that and try to goad, because for all we know, this could be a situation where, Putin is trying to goad something into happening. Maybe he's trying to spook people out, cause destabilization. I'm not sure. The point is, we're also having some very troubling messaging, or lack thereof, on our end, and we've seen the consequences of doing that. We've seen the consequences of that happening. And just to be clear, I live 7 miles away from the American missile defense base in Poland. Jeez, I remember, actually, now that you mentioned it. Yes, I remember. Either way, it seems to me like this is a bad idea to begin to act in this manner, and we should be doing everything we can to avoid any type of conflict. This is the last thing we need. We don't need another war. This isn't going to be like anything else, because this one will spill over and involve a lot of countries, and it's just not good. It's just not good. Nobody should want nobody should want this. Why would we get involved if we aren't the world police? That's also true. We don't need a war. Putin denies any attempts at aggression, but I will see. I don't trust the date of February 16th. Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. Like, we're not getting good, clear information. Okay, we're being told that a Russian invasion could begin at any given point. But we're not being given any clear, messaging here, right? Also, climate change, the longer we're distracted from solving climate change, the more America turns into a dust bowl. True. Oh, man. The last thing we need is a freaking war. The last thing we need is a freaking war. Meanwhile, Russia is turning into fertile land. That one's a little bit more complicated. I don't believe that the ecological transformation of Russia is. That's what they think. They're completely fine with the idea of climate change because they believe that they're going to be benefactors of this. Benefactors of all this. China alone cannot move away from coal, canceling out all their efforts. I'm not sure, but we shouldn't be talking about like other countries, to be quite frank. I was talking about the U.S. To combat climate change, you literally have to have a higher carbon emission. That's actually not. I don't think that's true. Actually, I think we're pretty much up there. That being said, that doesn't take away the responsibility of China and Russia. China alone can't move away, yeah, but they are in some senses, and in other senses, they're opening up new coal-fired plants. That's also to be criticized. That's okay. Russia isn't green-friendly either. True. That is very true. Okay. I see what you're saying. So there are two things that are happening here. The biggest emitter by sheer number would be China. The biggest emitter of per capita and historically is us per capita. So yeah. Russia is not denying that the reported military buildup exists. No, I don't think they are. Why would they? It's on satellite. They do cause labor exploitation. Is so wait, what? What are you talking about? Focus. So we're number one in the supply and demand of carbon. The US has problems. Yes, it does generate the second most. Yes, and we also generate historically per capita. Yeah. We also have to take into account the downstream emissions that we also cause. Because a lot of the things that are happening in China exist only because of our factories, of our companies being over there. And furthermore, I don't think it's productive to begin to shift blame around when the reality is we all have to acknowledge the fact that we're failing. We have to all acknowledge the fact that we're failing. We can't control what happens in China. We can't control what happens in Ukraine or Russia or whatever country. You know where we can do stuff? In the country that you live in. That's pretty much what you can do. That's all you can do. I live in the US, so I want the US to do its part, okay? Regardless of what other countries are or not or are not doing. I don't believe that it's very productive, especially when it comes to climate change. It's just not. We're all failing, and the first thing that we need to do is recognize that. And the best we can do is focus, at least here, on what we can do. I don't think anybody said that here. I don't think anybody said that here. I think that China has made some advancements. I believe China is like the biggest exporter of solar panels. But that doesn't make them some type of role model for green energy alternatives. I don't think any serious I don't think any country is making a lot of any of the big players are making a lot of steps forward. I mean, we've got countries that are small, like Costa Rica, making miles in strides ahead when it comes to addressing the climate crisis. We've got small countries who are much less equipped than we are, making so much more efforts, more than we are when it comes to climate change. Third world countries will make a dent. They're doing it also because it impacts them more directly. Yeah, especially like countries like who have rich biodiversity, like Costa Rica is doing worlds ahead than we are. So maybe they should be they should be the role models for the planet. Take their policies, their environmentalist policies. We should be learning from them. Wait, how does that mean that anybody's... What? Wait, so, Rai, do you... alright, listen, you need to chill out. I don't believe Spread It Forward said what you think they said. So, let's try this again. The longer we're distracted from solving climate change, the more America turns into a dust bowl. True. Meanwhile, Russia is turning into a fertile land. Meaning that as the planet warms, Russia's landscape is going to change. I don't get it. I don't think that means, therefore... I don't think that means, therefore, they are role models for green energy or green alternatives. That's not what they... That's literally not the implication of that comment. We're turning into a dust bowl because of lack of fresh water in the States. Meanwhile, Russia is mainly permafrost and stuff in the northern hemisphere, warming up and turning into farmable land. Yes, but there are other... Yeah, and like I was saying to that particular response, I think there are other factors in play that the Russians aren't taking into consideration. With that, for example, what it means for that permafrost to melt. Yeah, it's not that simple. Yeah, so I think we're just shooting out of a cannon here today. All right. What is the implication of Western powers saying that any tin pot dictator can walk in and take over any democratic country? I don't think that any Western powers, or quote Western powers, saying that. I'm just concerned about the lack of communication that we're having when it comes to addressing the public, especially with something so, um, like serious as the implication of a conflict with with Russia. I think that that's the problem. I don't think that it's unambiguous that that's the messaging of the Western powers at B. It's just that the language that we're getting from the press, whether it be State Department officials or whoever's in charge of giving messaging to the public, is not being very clear. And it sounds like, again, whether they're right or wrong, it sounds like we're being primed. It sounds like we're being primed for conflict, and it's giving me these 2001, 2002 vibes. If they don't want to give out those vibes, then they need to be as clear as possible as to what the situation is and what they're doing to avoid any type of conflict at all costs, or attempting to do what they can, or being at least being open with the public. Because it seems to me like every time a journalist presses for answers or for evidence, they're not very clear about it, and that's the problem we're having here. They just seem to be gambling on the short term. They're losing so much recently, yeah. And that's what scares me, because if we're not being clear, yeah, it's not good. It's not good. The most bipartisan thing I've ever seen Congress agree on is always war military funding. True. The fuzzy messages are deliberate. Maybe. I don't know. I wish that, the officials that get up on TV would be very clear as to what is happening on the ground, instead of making vague suggestions, or if pressed for answers, for evidence, they skirt those questions. And despite being grilled multiple times by a particular journalist, I forget what that clip was, where the dude kept skirting, the pivoting, the unwillingness to just answer the question about what evidence we have, or how are we getting this, and how credible is it, where is this coming from. The unbelievable mental gymnastics, unwillingness to answer, pivoting, whatever you want to call it, is not good. It's not good. It's not good. This is a case, if you give playground bully your dinner money, he'll be back for tomorrow. Yeah, but in this case, none of it makes sense, because the playground bully in your scenario would have to face a united playground. The other kids are standing linked hand in hand. So what is the point? What is the point of the playground bully attempting to steal the dinner money or lunch money, whatever, if they're all linked hand in hand? The US has been hasty to call out imminent invasions, but Russia constantly denies it. The one made a very harsh statement insinuating nuclear war. Yeah, so maybe we should be doing everything possible to not let it be, okay? It shouldn't be on us, in other words. It shouldn't be on us, and unfortunately, I don't know if what we're saying is true or not. That's my problem. That's my whole argument. I don't know if what we're saying is true or not. How many other countries will stand up to Russia when it bears its fist? Well, first of all, I don't think that a united Europe, a, 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 a united Europe is enough, basically. You're getting those O3 vibes because that's exactly what's happening. I think that the fact that Congress increased the defense budget after ending the war in Afghanistan, weapons manufacturers didn't get their war in Iran or North Korea with Trump, so now they need to make up for lost profits. Maybe I'm conspiratorial. Well, like, the thing is, Octosquiddies, what causes this type of thinking, what causes this type of thinking is the fact that we don't get very clear messaging and we get very dodgy answers. And, like, I'm sorry, dude, when you're talking about potentially potentially mass scale, this isn't like, this isn't like O3. This is a truly conventional war, something that hasn't happened in quite some time, and this is very massive. This is going to involve. It's going to be an absolute disaster if it happens. So can we just everybody chill out and everybody, like, let's come back down to earth. Let's see let's get some information out there for the public. And it is incredibly worrisome that we don't get very clear answers. Yes, this is way more serious. Morning, how does it going? The U.S. has been known to lying for its people hundreds. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem, Node Realm. We don't know because there have been numerous amounts of examples of the U.S. government not being quite forthcoming or being very dodgy, sketchy, dubious. I mean, it's just like, if we're gonna get ourselves into this mess, it shouldn't be us, okay? It should be a defensive, not offensive. It shouldn't be us, the ones that poking this thing to make it happen. I'm 100% on you. I'm just highly sus of anything coming from the government. Yeah, and you should be. Hey, Lostu, how's it going? Yeah, you should be. That's not excusing what's happening on the Russian side. That's not excusing the, mass, the buildup that's happening. I'm just saying that I'm worried about what the lack of information and why or what our role is here. It's just concerning. After all, it's only involving nuclear superpowers. After all. Hey folks, can you guys do me a quick favor and head on over to twitch.tv/lostsu. Do you stream Octosquiddies? I forget, because there's so many fine folks who do a lot of good stuff here on Twitch. Do you stream or not? I forget. The U.S. is trying to fearmonger about an imminent invasion that other countries deny, but now it's the point where nothing's certain. Okay, one of these days I'll start streaming. Okay, well, in that case, then go show some love to Octosquiddies and Lostu. How's it going, my friend? Hope you're doing all right, Lostu. Good morning. I'm actually streaming right now. All right, well, here. I did not know that. There you go. Just looking for someone to chat with. Well, here we are. Russia is the aggressor. Is Russia clearly is trying to fearmonger about an imminent invasion that other countries deny? It's not a point where nothing's certain. Yeah, sure, maybe, but that doesn't excuse what we're doing. That's not excusing what we're doing. Morning. How are we doing today? We're hanging out there. How are we doing today, Primo? We're hanging out. All right, folks, we got to get into some serious discourse, okay? This is some very serious stuff. This is some very serious stuff. Uh, oh man, this only happens. This is literally only. Truly the epitome of political discourse over here. Truly the epitome of political discourse. I never said that. I'm trying to guilt trip the US into doing everything possible to avoid war. That's it. That's literally it. That's what I'm trying to guilt trip the US into doing everything humanly possible to avoid war. That's it. That's my position. War bad. My position is war bad. You avoid it as much as humanly possible. And worst of all, especially under dubious circumstances. Right now, the worst thing they're doing is trying to use the media to make Russia seem like an invasion is imminent. Even Ukraine president told the U.S. to calm down. Correct. So until we get like information or until we're being told what the heck is going on, they need to stop. That's it. That's the only thing I'm guilt tripping the U.S. into doing. Chill out, everybody. Let's do what we can to, avoid, conventional war between two nuclear superpowers. Okay, can we focus on that? If it wasn't him, it's going to be another right-wing talking head. Yeah, this is truly the epitome of discourse over here. I told you guys that the Super Bowl was going to have some discourse. I don't know what Super Bowl halftime show Charlie Kirk was watching. I don't know. Maybe Charlie Kirk was watching some other type of alternate reality Super Bowl. Unless what he was watching wasn't the Super Bowl. Can somebody like point out where the where the league where all this sexual anarchy is coming from? Can somebody really point me out to? Because I mean, unless my eyes were deceiving me, definitely none of that happened. I want to have a debate at some point. I'm sure we can come up with a topic. I'm not really like a debate bro. I mean, I'll have like offline conversations with people because like I don't know if you've watched this show long enough, but generally speaking, like debates are very far and few between, and I keep it like just interpersonal. Like if you have a disagreement, feel free to just IM us or DM us. Or usually I'll go on another channel because like I don't know, it's just my thing. He must have been rewatching 2004 Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake show. Yeah, oh yeah. Listen, a wardrobe malfunction, truly the peak of sexual anarchy. I'm so happy that Jen Aiko got to sing. I love her voice so much. Nice. I don't watch it. Not a football fan. Just never got into it. Well, the thing is, like, I'm honestly not too knowledgeable about the sports ball, but it's kind of like a tradition, as I was saying earlier, that we just kind of get together with my best friend, who's like family, and we just have that Sunday together where we eat pizza or his world famous guac. I brought salsa. That's it. I do enjoy the halftime show, that's for sure. But apparently, Charlie Kirk here, and I knew there was going to be some type of political discourse coming from here. I guess I should have said talk. Yeah, I mean, like if you have a disagreement with my platform's ideas, then you tell me. Yeah, it's the most American thing on earth. Truly, Charlie Kirk, the epitome, pinnacle, truly an intellectual giant. This halftime show should not have been allowed on television. Oh my goodness. I mean, I like I said, I just don't know what halftime show he was watching. I literally just don't know what halftime show he was watching because I watched it with my own eyes. And I just don't see it. Plenty of controversy in a halftime show. Sexual anarchy was the least of it. Yeah, but what though? Like, it was just like, to me. Oh, David Pacman. Yeah, the known set stealer. Okay, that's the only thing David Pacman is known for. Okay, um, known set stealer. Uh, but but what sexual anarchy was really done? Here. I mean, it was literally just like a throwback to what, like 90s hip hop. Eminem kneeling was on his set was more controversial. What? I didn't even notice that. What was controversial about that? Thank you for the follow, by the way. I'm new to the stream. Didn't even have a topic in mind. All right, no problem. Send that to me in whispers, Rai. Send that to me in whispers. Oh, but what was controversial about it? Like, what? Like, explain to me why that was controversial in the context of the halftime show. What was he like, taking a knee over the anthem? But like, what was the whole point of it? I didn't even notice. Oh, I see. Okay, but like, wow. It was a nod to Colin Kaepernick. The NFL allegedly didn't want him doing it. Is that like even true? Really? Like, how do you know? The whole point of Colin Kaepernick kneeling was, first of all, during the anthem to make a point. Like, there, he could have literally kneed, and I wouldn't have known because it was during his set. For all I know, that was part of the dance routine. Like, the whole point was, the protest was during the national anthem. Like, if you wouldn't have pointed it out, Octo Squiddies, I would have never known. It would have gone, it did go over my head. It did go right over my head. Oh, it went viral on... Oh, yeah. It went viral on Reddit. Okay. I mean... Okay. I didn't catch it either until I saw the last, like, 4 articles about it. Oh, okay, I get it. Oh, man. Me neither. Like, if you didn't tell me that, it would have gone right over my head. The only cool thing about him kneeling is that this will confuse and piss off his whole white base. Yeah, but like, they didn't even, like, until the articles come out after the fact, like, nobody, I don't want to say nobody, but like, people wouldn't have understood what he was doing unless it was within the context, you know? Unless it was within the context of like kneeling at the national anthem, right? That was okay. Okie dokie. Imagine that being the controversy. imagine being that that being the controversy. Well, that's true. He could do literally whatever he wants, and probably not much will happen. Anyways, good memes. I'm actually surprised I hadn't seen anything about Kendrick Lamar's black modes and dancers on his set yet. Yeah, what's funny enough is that there's a tweet by Charlie Kirk from, I think, the other previous halftime shows where they actually had literally a very obvious shout out to Black Panthers. I think it was during the Beyonce when she did the halftime show, and he was like, "Wow, this is the best halftime show ever." And it's like 6 years later. Oh no, 6 years later. 6 years later, the NFL is now the League of Sexual Anarchy. Jesus Christ. No, I don't think he's washed. Wait, actually? Okay, hold on. I think somebody actually posted the response. No, I can't find it. Somebody actually posted the response. Did we watch the same halftime show? True. That's what I said. Oh, here we go. I knew somebody would bring this up. In 2014. And I want to be anarchy. I can't unsee Toilet Paper USA. That's what it stands for. If you spend enough time. Anyways, these are good memes. Thanks, Charlie Kirk, for providing us truly meaningful Super Bowl discourse. Truly. Truly. Yeah, sexual anarchy sounds good. Yeah, but that's like not even what happened. Okay. I think that after like several wardrobe malfunctions, like the Super Bowl halftime show is like one of the most like chill productions that you could ever see. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't care for like the concept of like the Super Bowl or football or anything like that. I think that what's awesome is that I get to spend time with with fam. That's basically it, and eat a lot of chips and salsa and guac. That's it. That's what it is. Yeah, I support a pantless anarcho-socialist society. True, same. That's what we need right now. All right, these are some good memes. So, apparently, according to Reuters, Russia's Shoigu says some military drills have ended and others are close to completion. So, does that mean they're like removing some of these troops? I have no idea. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said President Putin said that some military drills have already ended and some are coming to a close. Russia's joint exercise with an ally Belarus and other drills near Ukraine have fan fears that Russia may be poised to invade Ukraine, something Moscow has repeatedly denied planning. So yeah, this is yet to be seen. Again, where is the evidence that there's a imminent invasion? We have no idea. Because on the flip side, this is what we're saying. U.S. says Russia may create what? Oh God, may create pretext to attack Ukraine. Okay. What evidence do you have? Russia could invade Ukraine at any time and might create a surprise pretext for an attack, the U.S. said on Sunday, as it reaffirmed the pledge to defend every inch of NATO territory. Okay. Russia has more than 100,000 troops massed near Ukraine, which is not part of the Atlantic Military Alliance, and Washington, while keeping an open diplomatic channel, has so far failed to ease the crisis and has repeatedly said an invasion is imminent. Moscow denies such plans and accused the West of hysteria. Well, it's not just Moscow. Several countries have already told everybody to chill out. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, on the eve of a trip that takes him to Kiev on Monday and Moscow for talks with President Putin on Tuesday, called for Russia to de-escalate and warned of sanctions as Moscow did invade. A German official said Berlin did not expect concrete results, but diplomacy was very important. What could amount to a major concession in Moscow, Ukraine's ambassador to Britain told the BBC that Kiev could drop its bid to join NATO to avoid war. Maybe that was the whole point. Maybe that was the whole point. Who knows? I'm just surprised I haven't seen a lot of coverage. Most of the articles I'm kneeling that was considered a much obvious statement true. Yeah, pants will be optional. Pants should always be optional. Ambassador Vadim Priesteko was quoted saying that the Ukraine was willing to be flexible over its goal to join the Atlantic Military Alliance. We might, especially being threatened like that, be blackmailed and pushed to it. Priesto was quoted as saying when asked if Kiev could change its position on NATO membership. In Washington, President Joe Biden's National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said an invasion could begin at any moment now, any day now. We cannot perfectly predict the day, but we now have been saying for some time that we are in the window. Okay, but why do you think this? What is the evidence? U.S. officials said they could not confirm reports on U.S. intelligence indicating that Russia planned to invade on Wednesday. So then why are you bringing it up? Sullivan said Washington continues sharing what it learned with the world in order to deny Moscow the chance to stage a surprise false flag operation that could be a pretext for an attack. What information? Where is the evidence? It would also defend every inch of NATO territory, and Russia, we think, will fully understand that message. Biden spoke to his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky on Sunday and agreed on the importance of continuing to pursue diplomacy and deterrence in response to Russia's military buildup. Zelensky's office said he invited Biden to visit Ukraine soon. That White House declined to comment. Okay. Agreeing with the U.S. assessment that an invasion could happen at any moment, a British government spokesperson said Britain was working on a package of military support and economic aid for Ukraine to be announced in the coming days. Prime Minister Boris Johnson will make a trip to Europe later this week to build support to end the standoff with Russia. Biden told Putin in a phone call on Saturday that the West could respond decisively to any invasion, and such attack could harm and isolate Moscow. Well, to be frank, seems to me that's kind of already the case, but I don't know. Ukrainian Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov said on Twitter that Kiev had so far received 1,500 tons of ammunition from allies delivered on 17 flights, including 180 tons from the U.S. That's a lot of freedom. Jesus Christ. Canada's Defense Ministry said it temporarily withdrawn from its Ukraine. Canada's Defense Ministry said it has temporarily withdrawn its Ukraine-based military personnel to an undisclosed location in Europe. Canada, which is home to the world's third largest Ukrainian population after Ukraine and Russia, has kept a 200-strong training mission in Western Ukraine since 2015. The Kremlin said Putin told Biden during their call on Saturday that Washington had failed to take Russia's main concern into account and that it had received no substantial answer on key elements of its security demands. Putin wants guarantees from the U.S. and NATO that includes blocking Ukraine's entry into NATO, refraining from missile deployments near Russia's borders, and scaling back NATO's military infrastructure to Europe to 1997 levels. Washington regards many of these proposals as non-starters, but has pushed the Kremlin to discuss them jointly with Washington and its European allies. Yeah, I think what we were talking about is that like 6 years ago, Charlie Kirk was like, "Wow, this is awesome, such a good halftime show," and then like 6 years later is like pure sexual anarchy. Good memes. I think that's what's going on here. Spread it forward. Putin knows this, yeah, and yeah, so like there's a lot of non-starter negotiations that are happening here. Washington regards maybe as a proposal, non-starter. Yes, okay. The diplomatic path remains open. The way for Moscow to show that it wants to pursue the path is simple. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said after talk with Saturday with Asian allies, Washington and its European allies have also been scaling back or evacuating embassy staff, urging citizens to depart immediately or avoid travel to Ukraine. The U.S. staff of Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe began leaving by car from the rebel-held city of Donetsk in east Ukraine on Sunday. The OSCE conducts operations in Ukraine, including a civilian monitoring mission in Russian-backed self-proclaimed separatist republics in the regions of Donetsk and Luhansk, where a war that began in 2014 has killed over 14,000 people. Ukraine said that on Sunday, it wanted talks with Russian members of the OSCE within 48 hours to discuss Russia's military buildup. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said Moscow had not responded after Kiev on Friday invoked a part of the Vienna document as a set of security agreements to demand Moscow to explain its military activities. Dutch carrier KLM said it would stop flying to Ukraine, and Germany's Lufthansa, the airline, said it was considering suspending flights. Advisor Zelensky, Mikhailo Podolyak, said that regardless of what airlines choose to do in Kiev, would not close its airspace, that would resemble a kind of partial blockade. Yes, and we had also the Macron flying over. British Defense Minister Benoit was cautioning against putting too much hope in talks, telling the Sunday Times of London that there was a whiff of Munich. What? A whiff of Munich in the air from the West, referring to a 1938 pact that failed to halt German expansionism under Hitler. Jesus Christ. You can't make like these claims based on you can't make these type of comments because they hold, first of all, a lot of weight. Second of all, until we see some legitimate evidence to suggest that there is some type of invasion imminent, maybe we should halt the type of rhetoric that is being pushed around. In particular, at least from our point of view, the rhetoric that is being pushed around from people like Blinken, people like what's this guy's called? Jake Sullivan. And if you want to make comments like this, then you need to understand that people aren't stupid, okay? People aren't stupid. Hey, Alio, yeah, the gazpacho, truly, again, just seriously the epitome of conservative discourse. Yeah, so if you want to make comments such as there's going to be a false flag operation, there is imminent invasion, Invasion could begin at any day now. While U.S. officials could not confirm reports, like where's this information coming from? Like, I'm not understanding. And if you don't want us to be skeptical, then you need to be more open, okay? If you don't want us to be skeptical, if you don't want to give off these like 2003 vibes, if you don't want us to believe that there's some kind of fear mongering or there's kind of priming the pump for us to be ready or to accept that there might be a conflict coming, and of course it won't be our fault, then you've got to be more open. Plain and simple. That's just the way it's got to be. If you don't want us to believe this, or if you don't want us to think that there's something else afoot, then just be open. That could solve this problem in one swoop. Simple as that. I think, in my opinion, that is a pretty measured take. And I think that's a fair ask from our government. I think it's a fair ask from our State Department officials. Thanks for the shout out, of course. Hey, here's some good news. Trump appointed judge bars Biden administration from using key climate metrics. Nice. A Trump appointed judge dealt another blow to Biden's climate agenda, which I wouldn't go as far as going labeling it that. That's a bit far, but nonetheless, on Friday, barring the administration from using a metric that estimates societal cost of carbon emissions. This is not good. Obviously, in order for us to acknowledge the problem, we have to be able to show people how it's being measured. Like, we have to be able to show people these are the measured impacts of the climate crisis. But here we are. U.S. District Judge James Kane of Western District of Louisiana issued an injunction on Friday that prevents the Biden administration from using what is known as the social cost of carbon in decisions around oil and gas drilling on public land or in rules that govern fossil fuel emissions. This metric uses economic models to put a value on each ton of carbon dioxide emissions to help quantify the economic harm. Jesus. The economic harm caused by the climate crisis, sea level rise, more destructive hurricanes, extreme wildfire seasons, floodings, for example. Agencies that weigh economic harm in decisions that involve things like emission regulation or fossil fuel drilling approvals. Agents then weigh that economic harm in decisions that involve things like emission regulations or fossil fuel drilling approvals. The economic harm would be to the untold. The economic harm, if you really want to do that, is untold. It's incalculable because there's so much like domino effects that happen when it comes to climate change that we're seeing things unfold as it happens, right? Because it's not just Some companies won't be operational. Maybe it stops businesses from operating after a hurricane for a couple of weeks while power gets back on. No, it's not just that. Um, it's not just that. It's so much more involved. And the economic, if you want to go that route, uh, harm is untold, because like we're seeing stories, as James Napper posted a couple of months ago, of people in the global south having to flee because they can't grow food. They're unable to have their farms because of climate change that is having a adverse economic effect. There are people who are, I guess, to use an example here, who have lost everything in a massive hurricane. There are people who have lost everything in the massive floods. There are people who have lost everything in wildfires causing billions of dollars in destruction. That those are just like the physical numbers that we can kind of tell. Never mind all the other domino effects of what this entails, especially if we continue to perpetuate climate change or continue to ignore the climate crisis. These feedback loops will start happening and making things worse and worse and worse. Well, in this particular case, yes, Helio, yes. Please say if you think I'm wrong. I think the US is playing a blinder to avoid a war over Ukraine. No, I think it's the opposite. I think that the rhetoric and attitude is the opposite. It seems like, again, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It seems like the State Department or the government or whatever is priming the American people for something to happen when there's really no evidence. I don't want to say there's no evidence. It's just that the way they're presenting this gives me the impression of like, there are weapons of mass destruction. Okay, where? What kind of weapons of mass destruction? Who has these weapons of mass destruction? And then we get like these weird dodgy answers, right? Well, what false flag operation is Russia working on? How do they plan to do it? When? How? Which credible evidence do you have to suggest that that is imminent? Because like they're using very absolute language. There is an invasion coming. It's imminent. So I don't know. It seems to me like it's the opposite. I think they want. Whether it's true or not, that's the impression that the people are being primed for. Whether it's true or not, and if it's not true, then you better put some information out there. You better give us the truth. What's happening? That's my point. It was first implemented during the Obama administration and substantially weakened by the Trump administration. Biden revived the social cost of carbon on his first day in office, setting it at $51 per ton of CO2 emissions, the same levels as set by the Obama administration. Yes, but the Obama administration was 2008. Things have changed. We have different information when it comes to the climate crisis. Who knows? This may be even worse. It may not be 51, and furthermore, it's not really addressing the problem at the root cause. The Biden administration has yet to use has used the metric in many decisions, but was expected to release an updated figure this month. 10 Republican-led states brought their lawsuits against the Biden administration. In his ruling, Keynes sided with the states, saying the administration's carbon cost estimate will significantly drive up costs while decreasing state revenue. And Kane added that his home state of Louisiana will be directly harmed by the reduction of funds necessary to maintain the state's coastal lands. I don't think that's a good excuse. That's not a good excuse. The Department of Justice did not immediately return a request for comment. Earth Justice Attorney Hannah Vizcara, whose organization is not involved in the case, said she'd be surprised if the government's attorney didn't appeal. I can't imagine not appealing this if I was the Justice Department. Well, I mean, like, the Biden administration has been very quick. The Biden administration has been very quick to cave into the fossil fuel industry. So I'm not sure. I hope I'm not sure. It's very hard to say with confidence that the Biden administration will do the right thing here. Ms. said that there's not much legal precedent to support Kane's ruling, as similar lawsuits brought by Republican states were tossed out by an Obama appointee federal judge in Missouri last year. Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry praised the decision in a statement. Biden's attempt to Biden's attempt to control the activities of the American people. Yes. Yes. Cool. Biden's attempt to control the activities of American people and the activities of every business from Main Street to Wall Street has been halted today. Wow. Biden's executive order was an attempt by the government to take over and tax the people based on winners and losers chosen by the government. What? This doesn't make any sense. This is not the first time a Trump-appointed judge has dealt a blow to Biden's administration climate goals. In June, another federal judge in Louisiana blocked Biden's temporary pause on new oil and gas leasing on federal lands, saying Biden, quote, exceeded his authority. That decision paved the way for the Department of Interior to hold a November auction for oil and gas drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. Even though the administration officials insisted at the time it ran counter to their climate goals, they maintained they had to follow the law. What? A federal judge in D.C. later invalidated that because, you're supposed to take into consideration the ecological destruction of this. Biden's administration will face perhaps the most serious legal challenge to climate policies later this month in a Supreme Court case that could limit the EPA's ability to regulate greenhouse gas emissions from power plants. Yeah, this one's going to be a good meme. If the Supreme Court decides that, I think this is the exact same case we were talking about earlier. And by earlier, I mean like months ago. If this is the case that I'm thinking about, and the Supreme Court then decides that the EPA doesn't, oh Jesus, oh wait, did I inadvertently click on this? No. Okay. So the Supreme Court is thinking about limiting the EPA's ability to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And if that's the case, this could then open up the door, the possibility for regulation as a whole being done away with, or at least severely hampered. And that could apply across the board, not just to EPA, but other regulatory bodies, because the premise could be that the EPA doesn't have the authority to enforce regulation. So therefore, a lot of these regulations, despite regardless of the EPA, are going to basically fall moot. And if that happens, well, that's going to suck. If there's no enforcement agency for the EPA, if there's no enforcement powers for the EPA, no enforcement powers for for labor regulations, then we've got a serious problem. Stop trying to click on this link. Jeez. Okay. More good memes. Europe's biggest banks provide 24 billion euros to oil and gas firms despite net zero pledges. Isn't that a good meme?
We must seize the
What?
Vlad?
Oh, guys, I got this ad again. Yes. These are some good memes.
You know the rule. If you want to regulate something, go regulate the mess in your room. It seems a big part about being a mom these days is helping your kids unlearn the crazy ideas they're exposed to in the world.
That's right. For those of you who haven't seen this ad on this channel before. Yeah. Communism is when regulation. Peppa the Pig. Is it Peppa? Yes, this is a real that somebody paid money for this to be on YouTube.
World.
Mom, I just found out that if I run into the TV fast enough, I'll become a cartoon.
Nope, that will kill you. And it's not just normal kid stuff either. Now, my kids are being told by the media and even the school system.
Yes, by the media, because kids are totally in tune with the media.
Socialism is great.
Mama, if we just get rid of all these successful people, we'll finally be happy.
Actually, this is very, very honest of them. Karl Marx selected writings. Cool, so I just like to interpret things the way I want, by openly being dishonest and selective. Cool.
No, honey, that just means we'll all be poor.
That's also not true.
I want to teach my kids right, but it is so hard to find age-appropriate material to teach them about the principles of freedom. The blocks are the supply, and when people want them, that's demand.
This is such a good meme. Like, this is such a good meme. Freedom is when private corporations get to rule you. Good meme. So this is what it like. This ad can just be summer, and I get this ad ever so often, and it's always a good meme. Here, this is what it reminds me of. No, I need to find this meme. Hold on, folks. There we go. The biggest sigh was when she said, I want to teach my kids right, true. You can have Chairman Mouse. No, they didn't even say anything about any specific... The thing is, like, they are taking the most, like, egregious or, like, memes. Like, stereotype. I don't want to say stereotype, but, like, what someone would think of, like, this, like, fantastical creation in their head. And then, like, oh, yeah, I think I should teach my 5-year-old. Hey, Kal-El, ADT being radicalized to the right by ads? True. Hey, James Napper. I am, yeah, it seems to me like YouTube's got to me. Look at that. This is literally this. Freedom is when this. Cool.
Is that what Dad meant when he said you're too demanding?
Fail.
Luckily, I now have the Tuttle twins to help us. The Tuttle Twins is a series of books written for
The law.
freedom-loving parents that teach correct principles about free markets.
Correct principles. So I'm pretty sure it's going to go into the extensive intricacies of what a free market is, and then allow this 7-year-old to decide what exactly it is that they're reading and whether or not it's good.
In clear and relatable stories. You know, clear and relatable, so opposite of socialists. With over
What? Clear and relatable, opposite of social. Dude, am I not like? Am I so like unrelatable? What? Guys, is this like me being so out of touch with people? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Am I being very out of touch when I think that people should have like food, housing, education, healthcare? Is that something that's like really out of touch, considering that like tens of millions of people are like one paycheck away from like, bankruptcy? Is that really like too out of touch with people? When I want the working class to have more agency of what they of what they do in their job, or at the very least, I believe that the working class should have who should reap the fruits of their labor. It's their labor. Is that like unambiguous? Is that unambiguous that I believe that like working people should receive the fruits of their labor? Like how direct or how like complicated is that? I don't understand. Like where are we losing the disconnect here? Yeah, that's right. My mom didn't have food, so why should you? Hey, Felicity, how's it going? Wanted to say hi, howdy. Is it like unambiguous to think that maybe there could be a better way? Is it unambiguous that like workers should have a voice? Is it unambiguous that maybe there are legitimate failings of capitalism that we can talk about? Conservatives should be happy that COVID is Jesus. Yeah, teaching them sharing and caring is communism. True. Forgot about that.
2 million copies sold. These books are
2
the
million
best way to
copies.
teach your
First of all, I'm gonna press X to doubt on that, but if it is true, Jesus Christ.
child real-world topics not covered by most school curriculum.
Like
Mom,
what?
I demand cookies. There's no more supply.
Oh.
That's not how supply and demand works. What? Supply and demand is when wait, maybe this is the tacit admission of how this works. Because he's going to now exploit his Wait. Could we use the argument that he's now going to exploit his mom's labor for cookies? I thought there was no such thing as free cookies. Wait, he's asking for free stuff. Free stuff is communism. He's not talking about supply and demand of the economic principles. He's talking about free stuff. Why is this lady teaching her son about communism? Also a tacit admission that these books actually don't teach a single thing about how economics actually works. And so, within social science, there's always a really lively debate about whether if they should be more hard science or soft sciences, but it's the opposite end of the spectrum, where someone is determined that what they believe is a hard science with no debate. This completely skipped the fundamental basics of any social science study, which most ideologues do. To be fair, there's no absolute answer. True. Yeah, I mean, like, oftentimes, whether when you're talking about just like science or logic, oftentimes it's not just that black and white. A lot of times things aren't just as black and white. It's not that simple is usually the answer. Yeah, and it's all Biden's fault, true. Yeah, so clearly the Tuttle twins, is this what they're trying to show me? Yeah, clearly the Tuttle twins does an absolute hot garbage job of teaching kids, because they're kids, about what supply and demand really is. Because right now what he's asking for is free stuff, and I thought that that's what communism was. Since we're talking about such like asinine concepts, asinine like perceptions of things. Yeah, these poor kids probably just want to play Minecraft, but are forced to read conservative books. Yeah, garbage books at that, because clearly this kid has absolutely no idea what supply and demand is.
So if you have offspring and don't want them supporting socialism, then click the link and
How are they supporting socialism? What is the where is it? What is the problem here?
order the Tuttle Twins books today.
The id poll? Can we take a second to good memes.
Hello, I'm from the government with an update on how we're handling the climate crisis. We know you're all counting on us to solve this problem so humanity can keep enjoying its favorite pastime, continuing to live on this planet. But you see, we've realized that we are the problem. And so, how shall we put this? We're actually going to get us all killed. Look at this graph shaped like a penis because it shows how fucked we are. This is where we are now. And as we can see, it's already pretty fucked with massive fires, floods, heat waves, locusts, bullshit. This is what scientists call the stop here or we're fucked point. And this is where we're currently headed, or as scientists call it, net fucked by 2050. The good news is we've promised to reduce our emissions. And if you take all our promises and add them together, that puts us on track for still very much fucked by 2050. And that's if we keep our promises. A big if, since some of our biggest promises are being coke-blocked by corporate coal shills, while others are nothing more than blah blah blah, or a plan printed.
Damn. Almost like these pledges mean fuck all.
On a pamphlet. Pamphlet? Our promises and pamphlets are also based on the hope that we'll offset our emissions with technologies which don't work or even fucking exist. Or with technologies that do work and exist, like trees. Except trees need time to grow, which we don't have. And space, which we also don't have. Plus, trees can burn, which seems to happen a lot these days due to climate change. And when they do, they release all that carbon they captured. Which means the only way we can keep our promises is to stop emitting carbon. Are we doing that? God, no. We've been subsidizing it at a rate of $11 million per minute, which discourages investment in renewables by distorting the market. And that's why there's a huge gap between our promises and where we need to be. We don't talk about that gap because that would entail a complex process called being honest. Being honest would mean admitting that we're failing. And we can't do that because then we'd have to stop failing. That would mean ending fossil fuel subsidies and banning all new gas, coal and oil projects. And to anyone suggesting harming our precious children like that, we say, how dare you? So being honest isn't an option for us, which is why we've come up with the next best alternative. Net zero by 2050. Net zero by 2050 means that instead of being honest this decade by taking this path, we leave the being honest part to the last minute by taking that path instead. As you can see, both lead to net zero in 2050, but they're very different journeys.
And that's also big if. It's also a big if, especially if, like, even the terminology itself, net zero, has been essentially, for all intents and purposes, become so greenwashed that it just doesn't mean anything. It just doesn't mean anything except a nice corporate PR thing that they can put on their website or something.
Because this path adds this many emissions to the atmosphere, and that one adds 3 times as much. And since emissions are what's causing the planet to warm, that means crossing the stop here or we're fucked point, which risks setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond our control. That's the exciting part of running an experiment with the only planet we know that supports life in the whole fucking universe, just so we can make a few billionaires even richer. Net zero by 2050. Anywho, feel free to take over from us at any time. Because as you can see, we're captured by the fossil fuel industry, compromised by our moral failings and lack of vision, and probably going to get us all killed. This has been a message from your local government franchise. Goodbye.
Authorized by the Department for blah blah blah.
True. This has been like the truest freaking video, unfortunately, I've seen in quite some time. Scrodox, thank you for the follow. That was great. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the reason why I brought that one up, Europe's biggest bank provided 24 billion euros to oil and gas firms despite net zero pledges. Europe's biggest banks, led by HSBC, Barclays, and BNP Paribas, have provided 24 billion euros to the oil and gas companies that are expanding production less than a year since pledging to target net zero carbon emissions. Investments in new oil wells and tap fresh gas reserves backed by funds from major banks appear to contradict commitments to international agreements and undermine efforts to accelerate the switch to renewable energy sources. It's almost like they don't care or don't want to. Almost. Banks have acknowledged that they have an important role in the transition away from fossil fuels, and last April, many signed up to the UN's backed Net Zero Banking Alliance, which requires, they set targets to reduce carbon emissions. Yes, like I said, this has all just become some greenwash term that corporations can put on their website or say, look, we joined the Net Zero Banking Alliance. Look at us, we're doing our part. Yeah. However, analysis by campaign group Share Action showed that 25 banks that signed up to the reduced emissions have provided 33 billion or 24 billion euros in loans and other financing to 50 companies with large oil and gas expansion plans. The other companies include America's ExxonMobil, which has tried to defy shareholders' demands to cut emissions. Yeah, I mean, ExxonMobil is like public enemy number one when it comes to this. Jesus Christ. State-owned oil company Saudi Aramco, London-listed Shell and BP, who have made huge profits from gas increase in recent months. Nice. Good memes. Since 2016, European banks have provided financing worth 406 billion. Climate scientists and economists have warned that stopping expansion of oil and gas production is vital to reducing global carbon emissions, the key driver of the climate crisis. An International Energy Agency last May said no new oil and gas fields should be exploited to give the world the chance of reaching net zero by 2050 and avoid global heating of more than 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Yeah, like that's pretty much kind of a moot point, right? Because it would take a unbelievable change, an unbelievable about face in the way we think of things to actually even have a shot of reaching that 1.5. I mean, like, it's technically still possible, but the likelihood, the attitudes, the policies, the investments are all moving in the exact opposite direction. Doesn't make me feel very confident. There's also a growing consensus in the investment community that oil and gas assets could be financially damaging investments, even though there's also likely to be many profitable opportunities for those willing to ignore criticisms. Yeah, like that's the problem, right? Like you don't if your goal, which is obviously the goal is to create profit, why do you care? The only thing that I need to do right now is produce profits for my shareholders. That's it. Highlighting pushback from international investors keen to limit the cost of shifting away from fossil fuels. A report last week by the accountants EY found that 70% of UK firms admit that they have encountered resistance from investors and shareholders about their plan to reduce emissions, with 42% saying their shareholders want to wait for the competitors to act first. Yeah, this is exactly why I mean, just pure and simple, why capitalism is it's woefully incapable of addressing this problem. Period. Xavier Larine, Share Action Senior Research Manager, said if oil and gas demand increases in line with 1.5 scenarios, prices would fall and assets become stranded. On the other hand, if demand did not fall enough to limit global warming, the economy would suffer from severe physical climate impacts. Either way, The value will be destroyed for energy companies, banks, and investors. More than half, 19 billion of the financing since the net zero agreement came from 4 of the alliance's founders. They were London headquarters HSBC in Barclays, France, and BNP Paribas in Germany's Deutsche Bank. HSBC, Barclays, and BNP also provided the most finance to these companies since 2016 at 59 billion, 48 billion, and 46 billion respectively. A spokesperson for the NZBA Secretariat, based in the UN, said that members who joined the alliance in April 2021 were due to set their first 2030 targets in the autumn of 2022, focusing on the biggest polluters, including oil and gas companies. Oh, so just not yet. Gotcha. Gotcha. Just not yet. Keep. Just hold on, guys. Just keep holding on. May I add about new gas found north of Turkey in the Black Sea? I mean, okay. I would say that that's bad. It doesn't matter. We're due to set their first 2030 targets in the autumn of 2022, focusing on the biggest polluters, including oil and gas companies. Targets must align with no to low overshoot of 1.5 transition pathways as specified by credible science-based climate scenarios. The spokesperson for HSBC said the bank would publish science-based targets for oil, gas, and power companies on 22 February. We are committed to working with our customers to achieve a transition towards a thriving low-carbon economy. Okay. Barclays, excuse me if I don't believe you after decades of lying to the public. Especially if it's very obvious that there's been decades of lying and misleading the public. I think that, excuse me if it's hard to believe you. Yeah, found and kept there in the ground. Yeah, exactly. I don't give a shit. Sorry. BNP Paribas spokesperson said it had financially mainly European energy companies that are committed to transitioning their model and would accelerate transition by developing renewable energy and other transformative solutions. That's pretty vague posting there. Spokesperson added that there have been significant decreases in the support granted by BNP Paribas to oil and gas players in 2021 compared to 2019, but there's a totally atypical need for extra financial support during 2020. I don't care, let them fail. A Deutsche Bank spokesperson said carbon-intensive sectors were only a small share of our loan book, less than peers. The bank would have an intense dialogue with climates to move from high-carbon business models towards low to no-carbon ones. Yeah, I mean, again, excuse me if I don't believe the idea that these companies or these banks are actually doing that, especially when it has been shown that what their actions are completely contradictory. You're literally funding the fossil fuel industry to the tunes of tens of billions of dollars. That's it. They're funding this to the tens of billions of dollars, but, hey, that's cool. They can post on their little website that they belong to the UN-backed Net Zero Banking Alliance, I guess. I guess it looks good. It sounds good. But, yeah. Don't let the US find it. Yeah, then there would be a motivation for delivering an untold amount of freedom in that area. Hey, here's something cool. Exxon uses unusual Texas free speech law to defend history of climate change now. Hey, look, we're at the point where we're actually admitting don't that the climate misinformation is actually true. What if that's why we want to be involved with the Ukraine and Russia deal? No, more gas? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. ExxonMobil is attempting to use the unusual Texas law to target and intimidate its critics, claiming that lawsuits against the company over its long history of downplaying and denying the climate crisis violate the U.S. Constitution's guarantee of free speech. All right, hey folks, listen. At the beginning it was, well, I don't know, I think there's a lot of alarmism going on here. Then it's, well, I guess it could be happening. I mean, we don't know. The science isn't very clear. We should probably have a debate about this yeah, we kind of realize that this is happening. And then now we're at, yeah, we've been lying about this for decades. And what? And? So what if we've been lying to you guys for decades? So what if I've been lying to you for decades? It's free speech, brother. What? Why? Wait, of course I'm allowed to lie to you guys for decades and decades and, play an experiment in the one planet that we know that sustains life in this whole fucking universe. Cool. The U.S.'s largest oil firm is asking the Texas Supreme Court to allow it to use this law known as Rule 202 to pursue legal... Oh yeah, and we're going to sue you, by the way. Against more than a dozen California municipal officials, The Guardian reports. Exxon claims that in filing lawsuits against the company over its role in the climate crisis, officials are orchestrating a conspiracy against the firm's First Amendment rights. Oh man, this is good memes. We have 2 big storms forecast in the UK during this week. Jeez. The colossal fossil. What? The colossal fossil? Wait, who wrote this article? Also makes the colossal fossil fuel company also makes the curious claim that legal action in California is an infringement of the sovereignty of Texas, where the company is headquartered. 8 California cities and counties have accused Exxon and other firms of breaking state laws by misrepresenting and blurring evidence, including its own scientists, of the threat posing of rising temperatures. Right. So they believe in freedom of speech, except when other people are trying to blow the whistle. In other words, I like free speech, and I believe that I have the ability to have free speech, except what I mean by that is my free speech. You can only listen to what I have to say, and if you contradict me, how dare you? Free speech for me, but anyone who is trying to say otherwise doesn't deserve to free speech. They deserve to be fired, ridiculed, smeared. Yeah. Including from its own scientists of the threat posed by rising temperatures, and municipalities are seeking billions of dollars in compensation for damages caused by wildfires, flooding, and other extreme weather events, and to meet the cost of building new infrastructure to prepare for the consequences of rising global temperatures. Yeah, and it's not just ExxonMobil. It should be all these fossil fuel companies, period, full stop. Rule 202, in effect, allows corporations to go on a fishing expedition for incriminating evidence. They're able to question individuals under oath and demand access to documents before any legal action is filed against them. That seems a bit backwards. Wait, weren't conservatives or Republicans against, in favor of all this due process and all this other stuff? It's really weird how this keeps happening when they talk about some certain things like freedom or freedom of speech or whatever, but they always end up meaning the other thing. That's kind of weird. Exxon wants to use this provision to force California officials to travel to Texas to be questioned by the firm's lawyers about what company describes as lawfare, the misuse of legal systems for political ends. ExxonMobil claims in a petition to the Texas Supreme Court that it is entitled to question the officials in order to collect evidence of potential violations of ExxonMobil's rights in Texas to exercise its First Amendment privileges to say what it likes about climate scientists. Good memes. Good memes. The potential defendant's lawfare is aimed at chilling the speech of not just ExxonMobil, but of other prominent members of the Texas energy sector on issues of public debate, in this case, climate change. Yeah, this is a good meme. Okay. The oil giant critics say Exxon's attempt to use the claim of free speech to curtail the First Amendment rights of others follows a pattern of harassment towards those who challenge the company's claim about the climate crisis. Right. So again, what they really mean by free speech is no. Only the speech that I want is what ExxonMobil is saying. Patrick Parenteau, a law professor and former director of the Environmental Law Center of Vermont Law School, has described the company's move as intimidation intended to make it cost a lot and be painful to take on ExxonMobil, whether or not the company wins its case. In a highly unusual move, Texas Governor Abbott has written to the all-Republican court, half of whose members he's appointed, in support of Exxon. Cool, good memes. He accused the California litigants of attempting to suppress the speech of 18 Texas-based energy companies on the subject of climate and energy policies. Quote, when out-of-state officials try to project their power across our border, as respondents have done broadly by targeting the speech of an industry crucial to Texas, they cannot use personal jurisdiction to scamper out our courts and retreat across state lines. In its backing of its claim, Exxon's petition to the Texas Supreme Court gives the example of Oakland City Attorney Barbara Parker, who in 2017 issued a press release seeking to stifle the speech of Texas energy sector, as she likes to refer to it as big oil. The press release said it's past time to debate or question the reality of global warming. Just like big tobacco, big oil knew the truth long ago and peddled misinformation to con their customers and the American public. True. This is actually 100% true. The company also names then San Francisco attorney Dennis Herrera because he accuses the fossil companies of launching a disinformation campaign, true, to deny and discredit the reality of global heating and pledge to hold these companies responsible to account, true. They should be all of these companies, not just ExxonMobil. Exxon has in addition targeted environmental lawyer in Boston, Matthew Powell, who represents some of the California municipalities. The firm describes him as an outspoken advocate for misusing government power to limit free speech, and alleged that Powell recruited the California cities and counties to sue Exxon. Right. Yes. It's an entire conspiracy. Never mind the unprecedented amount of damage wildfires have caused in California in particular. But yes, this is all a conspiracy. Those lawsuits are an affront to the First Amendment. Okay. Naomi Oreskes, a Harvard professor and co-author of Merchants of Doubt, How a Handful of Scientists Obscured the Truth on Issues from Tobacco Smoke to Global Warming, said Exxon has a long history of attempting to bully its critics into silence. But, free speech. Now that arguments have moved into the legal sphere, this feels to me like an extension of the sort of harassment, bullying, and intimidation we've seen in the scientific sphere for the last 2 decades. Oreskes said the legal strategy is also part of a broader public relations campaign to paint the company as a victim of radical environmentalists and opportunistic politicians when Exxon argues that it should be heralded for its efforts to combat the climate crisis. ExxonMobil has for a long time now tried to make themselves out to be the victim, of course, as if somehow they're innocent. They're an innocent party here. Yeah, no, they're the ones that are doing this. Texas Supreme Court is considering the case after a lower court backs ExxonMobil's attempt to use Rule 202 against California officials. The decision was later overturned in the appeal. The court sympathized with Exxon by acknowledging an impulse to safeguard an industry that is vital to Texas' economic well-being. Like, this is so unimaginative. You can't fathom a world where we could make new industries and new technologies. You just can't fathom it. You just can't fathom it for the sake of making a few billionaires more richer. As saying that lawfare is an ugly tool by which to seek the environmental policy change pursued by California municipalities, but the court appeals said the defendants did not have sufficient direct connection to Texas for the case to be heard in the state. Exxon has tried to head off climate litigation before with lawsuits claiming that Attorney General of Massachusetts and New York were violating the company's rights by investigating it. Those moves were blocked by the Massachusetts Supreme Court and by a federal court. If the Texas Supreme Court allows this latest Rule 202 bid to proceed, Exxon might be expected a more sympathetic hearing for its claim in a state court system that has shown deference to big oil. Exxon is facing a barrage of other lawsuits across the U.S. A number accused the company and other fossil fuel firms of breaching consumer protection laws by propagating misinformation about climate science. True. Oreska said Exxon went further than most oil companies in seeking to hide the evidence of its own scientists collected about global heating and running a disinformation campaign. They're pushing the freedom of speech as an issue because more than any other company, it's been proven by people like me and others that they have a track record of promoting half-truths, misrepresentations, and in some cases outright lies in the public sphere, she told The Guardian. It's so well documented that unless they can come up with a strategy to defend it, they're in potentially serious trouble. Yeah, true. Yeah, Julio? I have no idea what that means. No clue what that means. So, lo and behold, we've got these massive private companies, particularly with ExxonMobil, just flat out lying, admitting that they're lying, and then just flagrantly saying, and what? So what if we'd spent decades creating misinformation? It's free speech. Like, this is way more than opioid epidemics. They need to be held more accountable than the Sacklers. Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, if these industries cannot come to terms with the damage that they are doing, that they are currently still doing, if they can't come to terms with that, and they can't provide a legitimate, palpable plan as to how they're going to stop this, or provide the necessary plans to move in the right direction in terms of the climate crisis, if they are incapable of handling this, then they should not exist. Period. If they are incapable of providing us a legitimate plan for how they are going to take care of this, about how they are going to provide the funding for renewable energy, infrastructure, so on and so forth. If they're incapable of doing that, and they continue to, meaning this has to be reviewed and shown that it actually would meet X, Y, or Z goal. If they're incapable of doing that, and they're incapable of showing a good step in the right direction, then they shouldn't exist. This is way bigger. This is way bigger than, obviously, the opioid epidemic. This is way bigger than what we're seeing now, because this is a global problem. This is a global problem perpetuated by, let's be honest, a very small group of industries, right? It's not just the fossil fuel industry, but all of these companies need to be held accountable. If they are incapable of providing us with the solutions, which it seems to me more and more likely that they just simply don't want to, instead, they're focusing their time, resources, money, to actively fight against any type of criticism, any type of plans, any type of legislation that touches their dear profits. And unfortunately, we don't have the time to figure out whether or not they're going to play ball. So, either A, they provide us with a palpable plan of how they're going to fix this, or what steps, physical steps, not new pledges that they did, not this cute little organization that they joined so that they can put on their website. No, I need physical, palpable plans that they're going to do X, Y, and Z, and then a way of tracking X, Y, and Z, not just like pledges. I need a physical way of tracking these things. If they are incapable of delivering this, then they shouldn't exist. This is not up for debate. This is not up for, oh, well, maybe we should do more. No. Unfortunately, time is not on our side. unfortunately, time is not on our side. And if we continue to subsidize, if we continue to allow this industry to be subsidized, then it shouldn't just it shouldn't then it shouldn't be. If we continue to allow this industry to be subsidized and perpetuate the destruction of the planet, all for the sake of profit, all for the sake of profit, all for the sake of just one more penny. The amount of untold ecological destruction, untold. Who knows? Who knows just how bad it really is going to be? We can only go by the latest data. Of course, we can only go by the latest data. But who knows how bad it really is going to be? That's the thing. Do we want to keep playing with the only planet known to sustain life? Do we want to continue to run this experiment to the ground? The only enlightened centrist is me. Listen, the only enlightened centrist is me. It is terrifying. It is terrifying to like put this into perspective, right? It is terrifying when you really sit down and start thinking about it. It really is terrifying. All being serious. When you start thinking about it, how we've let companies essentially destroy the planet, or it's certainly pushing that snowball down the hill. Certainly they have a huge hand in pushing that snowball down the hill, and all for the sake of profit, all for the sake of just making a handful of people more richer, who have also coincidentally captured a lot of governments through lobbying and influence, and made themselves seem like they're indispensable, right? Because like you see some of the language that's being used by the Republicans over here, right? It is vital. It is vital to Texas's what is it that they said? It is vital to Texas's energy, crucial energy, crucial industry. That's the kind of language that they use. Also, as we saw in the previous article, banks that are supposedly moving in the direction of not funding these industries, or not funding them unless they do X, Y, or Z, which is really hard to put a finger on it, and really hard to, it's vague posting by these banks. But hey, they've been funding these industries to the tune of tens of billions of dollars. But it's really cool because they get to put on their website that they joined the Net Zero Banking Alliance. I don't know. It makes perfect sense. Then they've already made the calculus, and the calculus said that the planet's continuous existence is not as important as next quarter for shareholders. That's the calculus. So in that sense, it does make sense to them. Yeah, so it's whatever's happening is not working. That's the TLDR of this. This whole, it's going to fix itself. There's going to be innovation. The free market. Blah, blah, blah. The free market is going to innovate ourselves. innovate our way out of this. It's not happening. It's just not happening. It is very clear beyond a shadow of a doubt that the free market is just incapable of tackling this. But hey, I guess these fossil fuel execs are above the, well-being of the planet. Apparently. Our governments aren't doing anything across the board. And so it continues. They have no strategies that would actually solve anything. It's a shifting goalpost that ever favors the right wing. Yeah, I mean, like, it seems to be consistent, like the honest government ad that it's all just pledges. It's all just pledges and fancy PR. That's it. All we get from the private sector is fancy PR campaigns, misinformation, misleading statements. All we get from the government side is more false promises without no action whatsoever. We have no strategy, no viable strategy at this point. Legislatively, we have no viable strategy at this point. As far as I can tell from the government here, there's no viable strategy coming from the private sector, minus a few like other companies who are trying to invest in green energy that are startups or whatnot. There are movements in technology in other places, but where they need to happen and where they have the most impact, it's just not materializing itself, and it doesn't seem like it will in the time that we have. So therefore, this isn't working. That's my TLDR. Oh, cute animal video. Okay, hold on, folks. We got a cute animal video. Okay.
We had.
Oh. All right, how about baby duckies? I think baby duckies are cute. Let's do that.
Watching Cassie break her little beak out. When it came time for them to hatch, Cassie picked the wrong end of the egg. I had to help her along.
It's not a really good response to that. Seems a bit wishy-washy. Personally, I think there's a lot of holes in the carbon story. What carbon story? It's just what? That sides of science offering better explanations are being suppressed. Okay, so you're saying that you want more information out there? Because it definitely exists. Although I will say, ExxonMobil and all these fossil fuel industries do a lot of work to suppress the actual science. They've done so much work to do that.
A little bit more. And the next morning, I woke up and
so I really wouldn't
was
trust
already
them.
out of his egg. Just wham bam, hi, here I am.
Get up, little buddy. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
She was completely exhausted, and I was a little concerned about her getting up on her own because she was twisted around so much inside the egg. After
97
few
publishing
hours,
scientists agree on global warming. Yeah.
Sort of
course.
Lifted her head up, and
A little bit.
then she was fine after that.
Hey, come on. No, not my hand.
What? Please
silly.
share your source. You can
Not my
Google this.
hand.
What?
There you go.
From the moment they
Wait, is that
met
like
each
an actual
other,
question?
Cassie and Carl,
What?
they just bonded like two
Kids.
peas in a pod.
Hey.
From the very first night that they spent together, they always did like a synchronized sleeping. So their heads would like slowly go down and then jerk back up. And they always did it at exactly the same time.
And now they're practicing getting all primed and preened. Hi! You found me!
They were constantly on my heels. I mean it literally. And if I left the room, they followed me. And if I sat down, then they would come and they would sit.
You enjoying your swim today? First time in the water, in real water.
They
Aw.
loved it instantly, like they were born in the water. They splashed and they played, and oh my gosh, it was so amazing.
Oh boy, oh my goodness. And back to swimming. Look at baby Carl. He's learning to tread water. Oh my goodness. Cassie, not quite yet. You're still too busy splashing and having fun.
These two grew so
Aw.
fast.
So cute. Look at those little balls of floof.
Look, adult feathers are starting to grow in. Look at Cassie. Her colors are all coming in now. Look at you guys growing in your feathers. Yeah, did you hear that? That was like almost a full-on duck noise. Well, it's their first time outside. Well, semi-outside. We're on the porch.
Hey, Byron Ninja, how's it going?
And I just let them have the run of that, and then we let them out in the backyard, and they were just running back and forth.
What do you think? Hey? There's so much to see. Quack, quack, quack. This way. Good kids.
Then I started to build the pond area. Both of these breeds actually
The sun
cannot
started to shine my
fly,
room earlier, so I could be making it to more streams.
They
Hey,
wouldn't do
howdy.
well in the wild. They're 100% meant to be kept safe, and that's exactly what I plan to do.
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird comment, spread it forward. That was a bit of a weird comment. Like, please share your source. Like, I don't know, fucking NASA? What? And besides, that link actually has the sources to that source at the bottom. So yeah, it's undisputable that over 97% of scientists who are climate scientists do believe in the idea of global warming. That sounds like a weird thing to like. Okay, 97% consensus on what global warming, climate change, whatever you want to call it. Are you on a tight timeline today? Yes, I'm actually about to sign off right now. How did you know, Astro? How did you know I was on a tight tight time? You seem to have this ESP over here going on over here. Yeah. So American Meteorological Society, American Chemical Society, Association of Advancement for Societies, Geophysical Union, American Medical Association. I mean, yeah, the Geological Society of America. Yeah, I think it's pretty well documented. But looking for the article shows me NASA scientists shows the data graph shown at the top of your link. No, at the bottom. Look at all the sources, all the organizations who are in lockstep. Otherwise, Exxon would be suing people say that they don't have free speech to deny climate. True. Listen, you can look it up yourself, my friend. You just use NASA as a waypoint, or just look at the the IPCC report tells you too. is the IPCC report is an extensive international cooperation. I've actually saved it here. Here is an extensive resource for all the science. Yeah, I've been here a while. True. Otherwise, yeah, exactly, Pirate Ninja. Anyways, TLDR. Seems to be an accepted fact across the board. One thing you can't bullshit me on is certainly climate change. So, that being said, folks, I do want to thank you for hanging out here. I appreciate all of you hanging out. Thank you. Spread it forward. Appreciate it. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for the new follows. Appreciate it. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Don't forget, on your way out, hit that follow button. You get 5 free emotes, and one of them being Vaquita the cat. So do that. All right, that's good. And subscribe to the YouTube. Do that. Join the Discord. All that awesome stuff. You have a good day. Thank you all for your support. You guys are what makes this channel grow. As always, again, stay safe. Take care of each other. I love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya. Where are we going? Good question. I want to continue battling the deniers. Yeah, I listen. This is very easy. You can Google this yourself, and there's also very I provided a couple of good links there. I don't know. Is there anything you can suggest? Oh, Tina. Let's go to Tina. You know what, Tina? We haven't seen Tina in a while. All right, folks. Let's head out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. See ya.